Well, good evening and welcome to our special coverage of President Trump 200. Glad you're here. I'm Rob Finnerty. Throughout the night, we're going to look at many of President Trump's accomplishments in his first 200 days in office. A list that includes historic border numbers, trade deals, the lowest inflation in 4 years, the largest middle-class tax cut in American history, protecting women in sports, getting NATO nations to spend 5% of their GDP on defense, and the first government surplus since 2017. Tonight, we're going to be joined by Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, Border Czar Tom Homan, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, Education Secretary Linda McMahon, Trade Advisor Peter Navarro, and State Department Spokeswoman Tammy Bruce. But first, let's take a look back at the last 7 months.
The golden age of America begins right now.
He said he would secure our borders and that he would never forget about Lincoln.
Executive order to ban men from competing in women's sports. It's about time.
For the first time in history, flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America.
And welcome to the first ever White House Digital Assets Summit. My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. And our country will be woke no longer. The strikes were a spectacular military success.
Father, thank you for giving us this opportunity to restore faith in this country and be a blessing to the people of America.
And to my fellow citizens, America is back.
How about that? Should get you fired up. That's 200 days, not 4 years, by the way. We start tonight with Donald Trump himself. I interviewed him on Finnerty last Friday, and I asked him what he is most proud of over the last 200 days. Take a look. Mr. President, next week we will mark 200 days. You're the first 200 days in office. What are you most proud of?
Maybe the fact that we've done so much, because I know you're having a hard time picking them, but the bill is the biggest bill ever passed in Congress, and it gives you so many things, not only the biggest tax cuts, but when you see the job numbers, and think of this, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security benefits for our seniors and things. I mean, the numbers are staggering. No tips on overtime, no tax on overtime. The way it looks, one of the things we did, it's like that bill is so full of goodies for people. You go out, buy a car, you could never deduct interest. If you're a wealthy person, you're allowed deductions. If you're a middle income person or whatever, you go buy a car, you borrow money from a bank, we're letting you deduct your interest payments from taxes. We have so many things in that bill and so many things health related. And I think it's maybe one of the things I'm most proud of. But I think most proud of that we've been able to do so much in so little time.
Is there something in the next 200 days that you absolutely want to get done?
I want to put the things that we've gotten for the people of this country in a bill that was shocking that we were able to get it. Most people thought it would never pass. You know, they thought you'd have to do it in 8 or 9 different bills, and you'd never be able to do that because there's nothing in a lot of those bills for anybody to approve. You'd never get them approved. So the concept was there's something in this for everybody. I want to really implement a lot of the things that we had. Look, we want to have a safe country. We want to get rid of crime. We have to bring back a lot of very, very bad people that were put here by the Biden administration. We're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing so much on health. We're bringing back so many different things. Bobby Kennedy's doing such a great job. But we have, I want to implement many of the things that we have in the bill that just got passed, that frankly was passed where people never believed it was possible to get it done. We got all those things done. Now I want to implement them.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Maha will be part of the president's legacy when it's all said and done, but I thought it was fascinating. Off camera, he told me how proud he was of military recruitment numbers and where they've come over the last 7 months of his presidency, setting records on a monthly basis in some cases. All right, joining us now for more on the president's first 200 days in office is Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. Great to see you, Stephen. In your opinion, what's been the president's biggest accomplishment so far in the last 200 days?
Well, first of all, I'm thrilled to be with you here to celebrate the president's 200th day in office. Rob, and I just want to say how much I appreciate you and your audience and the groundbreaking work that you've done in recent months covering this presidency.
Thank you.
Look, there have been so many achievements over the last 200 days. Where do we even begin? We have a trade deal, a groundbreaking, incredible, historic trade deal with the European Union, Korea, and Japan. 3 of the hardest trade deals to achieve really around the world. You have a complete rebalancing of our economic relationship with China. You have brought America's defense to the forefront with the largest investment in our national security, including the plan to construct the Golden Dome missile defense shield. You have the uprooting of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion across the whole federal government and the private sector. You have, of course, the largest package of tax cuts in American history, the full extension of the Trump tax cuts, plus Trump baby savings accounts, plus you have full expensing for manufacturing companies that bring their jobs back into America, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. You have us taking back our government from the rogue bureaucracy and from the deep state and the exposing of all the crimes the deep state has committed against the American people. And you have the fact that our jobs market now is producing jobs for Americans. You have, for the first time in memory, all job growth going to American workers and no job growth going to illegal aliens.
Right.
No one can remember the last time that happened, especially over the last 4 years. If I had to pick one thing, if you really pushed me, and it's so much, I would say, of course, the fact that there have been 0 illegal aliens let into the country across the southern border the last 3 months in a row. You know, one of the biggest issues that was litigated in this campaign was about border security and sovereignty, and now for 3 straight months, 0 illegal aliens were let through the southern border. But above it all, I'll just end with this. It's the reawakening of the American spirit, putting our country first, our people first, our citizens first. In every interaction around the world, we have a president now who is defending with every ounce of his being the well-being of the American people.
That's so well stated, Stephen, and thank you for the comments at the beginning. I want to ask you about the 10, 15, 20 million illegal aliens that came into this country during the previous administration. How important is it that illegals are not counted as part of the next census?
Well, I mean, this is such a fundamental issue to our democracy. So think about this conversation we've been having, you've been covering, about apportionment and about gerrymandering and about representation in Congress. Democrats have stolen, depending upon how you count it, and no one really knows the number for sure, right? No one knows, right? But just being conservative, Democrats have stolen 20 to 30 House seats by counting illegal aliens in the census. I mean, just think about that for a second. They stole 20 or 30 House seats by counting illegal aliens in the census. And now you have Democrats talking about, oh, Republicans can't change their congressional maps? You have literally brought invaders into this country by the tens of millions to rig the results of the census and the apportionment of our congressional seats. And then on top of that, of course, you have a situation where even though Republicans won a landslide in the House popular vote, Democrats have so thoroughly rigged and gerrymandered and manipulated their districts beyond all recognition that Republicans only gained a 4-seat majority, despite winning a much smaller majority in the popular vote in 2010 and getting 63 seats. Remember the 2010 election? A much smaller popular vote majority produced 63 seats. So, look, Democrats cheat. We all know Democrats cheat. We've all understood that. But they're counting of illegal aliens in the census. They have to be excluded. The Commerce Department, under the leadership of Howard Lutnick, is working on a plan now to make sure that we do, in fact, exclude illegal aliens from the census.
Stephen Miller, great to see you again. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, as we head to break, some trivia for you at home. The question, how many border encounters were there in the last 200 days? That answer with border czar Tom Homan The question was, how many border encounters were there in the first 200 days of Donald Trump's presidency? The answer was B, 35,494. Great music. All right, earlier you heard the president talk about how proud he is of the work that he's done at the southern border, that's being done at the southern border. We now have the most secure border in modern American history after a 4-year period where millions upon millions of illegal aliens poured into the country each year, and Joe Biden told us the border was closed. In the month of July, for a third year in a row, 0 illegal aliens were released into the country. And the focus will now turn to sanctuary cities where Democrats are prioritizing illegal aliens over the safety of their own citizens. Okay, joining us now for more is border czar Tom Homan. Tom, good to see you. Let's go back a little ways. Trump marking 200 days in office tonight. The bar was set pretty low for you. The only other border czar we've ever had in history was Kamala Harris, and she told us throughout the course of 4 years that the border was closed as millions of illegal aliens poured over the southern border. Can you take us through how Donald Trump's election changed things at both the southern and the northern border?
Look, it was a complete 180, right? It was a drastic change. We went from historic illegal immigration, numbers we've never seen before, numbers we never came close to before. 10.5 million illegal aliens came to the border that we know of, right? We're not talking about the gotaways. 10.5 million came to the border in Joe Biden. And President Trump, within 7 weeks, President Trump gave us the most secure border in the history of this nation. And the numbers prove it. And so he did in 7 weeks what Joe Biden couldn't and wouldn't do in 4 years. So great success. And again, as I stand here today, I've been doing this for over 40 years. It's certainly the lowest numbers I've ever seen, but going back in history books, we can't find a more secure border in the history of this nation than we have today.
Let's say Trump wasn't reelected in November. What happens at the southern border under a Kamala Harris-run administration?
Look, what Joe Biden did, it's going to take us a decade to really address everything, all the damage he's done. Even though we're running at record speeds, we will have the largest deportation operation in history, but again, we're talking about 10 million people. If Kamala Harris would have won, we never would have been able to fix it. There's no way if we had another 10, 12 million come to the border, we just we'll never have the assets to chase them down and move them. But that was our plan. Look, I said many times, the open border under Biden wasn't mismanagement, it wasn't incompetence. It was by design. So thank God President Trump won, because we turned it completely around. First of all, Trump 45, the most secure border ever. Joe Biden comes in, unsecures it on purpose. Then President Trump gets back in. We even beat Trump 45. The numbers are the lowest ever, even lower than Trump 45. So God help us if she would have won. We would never been able to fix the damage that would have been done.
Take a listen to Michigan Senator. This is Alyssa Slotkin calling you out earlier this week. Take a listen.
Thomas Holgren, who runs border policy largely from the White House, they have been a disaster. They have been un-American. They have done things that I have heard this morning in Grand Rapids from our Latino Chamber of Commerce that make you feel you are in an autocratic nation, right? And even some of the most ardent Trump voters in our state will pull me aside and say, I don't like this grabbing people off the street.
Thomas Holgren, I don't know how she got that from Tom Homan, but how do you respond to that, Thomas?
Well, she's okay. She just proved that she's not very smart, obviously. But bottom line is, what we're doing is making this country safe again. What we're doing is correct. And here's a congressperson, elected official, who buried her head in the sand under the Biden administration. We had the highest level of sex trafficking of women and children in the history of this nation. We are the highest level of national security threats coming across that border. We have over 500,000 children smuggled in the country, and they lost track of 300,000. Sex trafficking women and children all-time high. The migrant deaths over 4,000, historic high. Historic high of Americans dying from fentanyl, 250,000. and she hit her head in the sand, didn't say a damn thing. President Trump has fixed this in 7 weeks. Overdose death, down. Sex trafficking, down. No suspected terrorists coming across the border, non-existent. Number released into the United States, 0. The most secure border in the history of this nation. We're doing exactly what the American people voted for. And if there's any distraction from Trump voters that we're doing too much, it's because of the fake media. The fake media says we're arresting more non-criminals than criminals and that we're separating families, we're deporting U.S. citizens. It's ridiculous. I look at the numbers every morning. 70% of everybody ICE arrests is a criminal. Fact. Who are the rest? National security threats and fine orders. As far as the border, most secure ever. And we found over 13,000 of the children she didn't care about under the Biden administration. We've already found 13,000. Some we actually rescued out of sex trafficking and forced labor trafficking. So we're doing what exactly the American people voted for. And if she doesn't understand that, then she's an embarrassment to the position she holds, because her first responsibility is protection of her communities, protection of the citizens of this nation. That's exactly what we're doing.
Tom Homan, great to see you tonight. Congratulations on the past 200 days. Appreciate you being with us. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, when Donald Trump appointed Linda McMahon to become the next Secretary of Education, her job was big. It started with downsizing the department at the federal level, but what she's done in 200 days is a lot more than that. The Education Department is already 50% smaller than it was 200 days ago. The budget, which was full of waste, has been reduced by over $12 billion. Think about that, in 200 days. There's also been a return to common sense in the classroom. DEI is no longer being taught in public schools. Men can no longer use the ladies' room or the girls' room in public schools across America, and men are no longer allowed to compete in women's sports. Universities are also being held responsible for their attacks on Jewish students. Parents now have the ability to decide what's best for their children, not the Democrat-run teachers' unions and people like Randy Weingarten. And for the first time in a long time, school is actually about learning and not indoctrination. Joining us now for more is the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Madam Secretary, so nice to have you on. How would you assess the president's first 200 days in office in your view?
Well, my goodness, you just went through a lot of what we've been accomplishing, but I can certainly say that the president's first 200 days have just been nothing short of amazing. Keeping up with things pretty tough. I think he signed, over 160 some executive orders already as well. But we've been focusing here, primarily on three big issues, some of which, you already covered. We have really been looking at higher education, the deals that we're able to get through with Columbia and with Brown and with UPenn, addressing different issues there, and the continuing negotiations with Harvard. We've been executing the big, beautiful bill that had wonderful things in it for education. More money for school choice is one big item in the big, beautiful bill. And then, and lastly, we've been focused on returning education to the states. And I was really happy with the Supreme Court's ruling that allowed the president to continue to do what he was doing, allowed us continue to downsize the Department of Education.
I want to ask you about that, if I could jump in. And by the way, I interviewed the president on Friday, and I asked him specifically about you. And Madam Secretary, it is safe to say you are by far one of the president's favorites. And I'll just leave it at that because I don't want anybody else to get jealous. But believe me, I don't think I've ever witnessed this before. You were appointed to this prominent position. You've lived an amazing life. But your first task was to dismantle your own department. And you were just talking about that. You had a huge win at the Supreme Court. The decision basically allows you to cut the Department of Education by about 50% by August 1st. So that's underway. What has that transition been like over the last 200 days?
Well, I can tell you we did go ahead and make a lot of those cuts at the beginning. There were a lot of people that were on administrative leave. There were others who had taken early retirement packages, et cetera. So we have been functioning and doing a great deal of this work with the reduction in staff, already. Now the final paperwork and the final implementation of those acts, we have the green light to continue to do that. But our operation has been going, fast and furious, and I think very efficiently since we came on board. And so I'm really pleased with all of the staff here, all of the things we've been able to implement, and we've been going at a pretty good pace.
Can you describe the next 200 days for me? And then a question that I get from people all the time. Is the objective by January 2029, Donald Trump's last day in office, is the objective for the Department of Education to cease to exist completely?
Well, I can tell you what the president clearly said to me was, and this is contrary to what you hear a lot of people say, that well, the president wants to get rid of education. Well, clearly that is not the case. What the president wants to do is to get the bureaucracy out of education. I mean, the fact that we have to spend over 50 cents of every dollar that goes to a school for regulatory compliance is just ridiculous. Yeah. That money should be going to kids. It should be going to schools. It should be putting into teachers' pay. So what the president wants to do is to get rid of the bureaucracy. I think actually he would like to see the doors closed and all of the aspects of the Department of Education into other agencies or those that are not necessary, to be abolished. And I think that is the right way to look at it. I think we're going to have much better education in our country by returning it to the states, where governors, where state superintendents, where parents and teachers will have more involvement in teaching our students. And if we look at where our scores are today in the national report card called the NAEP scores,
yes,
when 30% of 8th graders are proficient in reading, and that means 70% are not. That's an incredibly unacceptable statistic in our country.
Yeah, and as a father, as a parent, that is something that's near and dear to my heart. Madam Secretary, please come back and see us. Congratulations and keep up the good work. Linda McMahon, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Coming up, we're going to break down the president's economic accomplishments with White House trade advisor Peter Navarro. And as we head to break, the question: how many executive orders has President Trump signed in his first 200 days? That answer when we come back. And how many executive orders has the president signed in his first 200 days? The answer was A, 184. All right. Today marks day number 200 of Donald Trump's presidency. The economy is booming. Inflation is at a 4-year low right now. Gas is under $3 a gallon. Nationally, the NASDAQ, the S&P have both set records. The budget surplus we had in June is the first we've had since 2017. And we're setting records with trade revenue that nobody expected. Joining us now for more is White House Senior Trade Advisor and Manufacturing Advisor Peter Navarro. Great to see you.
Rob, my friend. How are you?
I'm well. It's good to have you. I'm wondering how much of what the president is doing right now on trade shapes his legacy for decades to come.
Yeah, over a century it will shape it. What President Trump is involved in on the trade front is a fundamental restructuring of an international trading environment which is fundamentally opposed to the United States. Every country in the world gets to put higher tariffs on us, impose higher non-tariff barriers, take our jobs and our factories through this more than $1 trillion deficit. I think for your viewers, Rob, the thing I can do best for you tonight is reflect on the fact that I was with the president from 2016 in the campaign. I was actually his chief economic and trade advisor. I was at Trump Tower. We were on the campaign trail. We got in there, and the president pursued an agenda much like he's doing now, which is to say deregulation, tax cuts, strategic energy dominance, and most of all, to getting tough on trade, having fair trade. The difference, Rob, is how the Trump trade policy is being welcomed now and acknowledged as working beautifully. The headwinds we faced in the first term from just about everybody, including a lot of people inside the West Wing and White House and administration, this is night and day. Everybody working for the president is pulling an oar in the right direction. And 180, I'm a little disappointed, boss. I thought we could hit one a day. We hit 184, so, we missed the mark by 16. But the man is absolutely amazing, and he is the greatest president in modern history. And he was so ending the first term, but now it's just going to be amazing.
Yeah, and it sort of seems like even though the rest of the media doesn't want to admit it, they're kind of like, well, there's not much we can do when things are going this well in the West Wing for the president. Question for you. So let's say a Democrat takes over in 4 years. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could. Could they undo some of Trump's tariff deals, even if the deals are a good thing for the U.S. economy?
Of course, Rob. Well, that's what we learned with Biden-Harris. We had a beautiful trade policy in effect. We had a beautiful energy policy in effect, deregulation in effect. And the reason why the Biden regime was such an abject failure is precisely because they undid everything. On the first day, Biden basically tossed, I think it was almost 100 of Donald Trump's executive orders in the trash, many of which I had helped written or had outright written on things like Buy American and trade and everything in between. And what we had in the Biden regime is a swelling of the trade deficit, a stagnation in real wages, slower growth, just a spectacular rise in the bad way in the trade deficit, and instability around the world with China, with North Korea, with Iran, with Russia. And the legacy of President Trump will certainly be grounded in what he's doing with the economy, what he's doing with trade. He's basically rewritten the economic textbooks. But more broadly, he's also the peace president. And I mean, just since he's gotten here, I think he's brought peace in like 6 different conflicts we're seeing, including India and Pakistan, Thailand and Cambodia. And what I love about the man, watching him up close and personal, is how he goes about his business. It's direct communication with world leaders. He has great rapport with world leaders. He gets on the phone, talks things through, gets deals done, makes peace deals. And we're really blessed to have this man. I remember when I was in prison, you remember I got sent to prison for defending the Constitution. The worst day I had was July 13th, Rob. And that was the day I actually saw on the television the president get shot. And it was just, I mean, if that bullet had gone a millimeter one way or the other, we would not be having the renaissance in this country that we're having.
No, it would be more of what we had for the last 4 years. And America, again, Donald Trump, he was the first Republican in 20 years to win the popular vote in November. The last guy, George W. Bush, 2004, he didn't win 1 or 2 battleground states. He won them all, and he was competitive in places where Republicans haven't been competitive. Joe Biden, and I've said this many times, he lost to Donald Trump, Joe Biden, in 2024. So did Kamala, and then Hillary Clinton did in 2016. Donald Trump has decimated the Democratic Party to the point where this is a party that now defends illegal aliens and wants men in women's restrooms and wants men playing women's sports. And these are fundamental policies of the current Democrat Party, and that's why that party is failing. And that's part of the reason why your administration, the Trump administration, is doing so well. Peter Navarro, great to see you tonight.
Rob,
thanks so much for being with us.
All right, my brother.
We'll
celebrate those 200 days. It's great. Always great to be with Newsmax and you, Rob.
Thanks. See you, Peter. Thank you. When we come back, so following a string of aviation accidents and failures over the last several months, the Secretary of Transportation has a new plan that will save lives. I don't know why Mayor Pete didn't do this. That's not going to happen again. Plus, our next trivia question, our Trump trivia question. How many foreign leaders have visited the White House in the president's first 200 days? I got this wrong. Stay with us. Welcome back. The transportation system is a key part of everyday lives for millions of Americans, but for far too long, it's been neglected. Anyone who commutes to work or travels by air knows exactly what we're talking about, but all that is finally starting to change. Following a string of aviation accidents and failures over the last several months, the Secretary of Transportation has launched a plan to rebuild our air traffic control system, including upgrades at key airports across the country. After the previous Transportation Secretary, Mayor Pete, reportedly spent $80 billion on DEI grants instead of upgrading the air traffic control system throughout the country. Joining us now for more, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. Mr. Secretary, good to see you.
It's good to see you, too. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. Tonight, we're marking 200 days of the Trump presidency, and I'm just wondering, after 200 days, do you feel comfortable with where the current air traffic control system is right now in this country?
Well, comfortable where we are now. Is it safe? Yes. Is it perfect? No. We just got a historic down payment, $12.5 billion. We have the plan in place to spend that money and to make it great. It's going to take us some time, Rob. We have, we have to build telecom, a whole new telecom network that's not copper, that's fiber, new radar. We're developing a new software program that can move airplanes more efficiently through the airspace. So we're well on our way. As you know, and you've reported, we have 3,000 air traffic controllers short. So we've surged more air traffic controllers into our academy. I'm paying air traffic controllers who can retire to not retire. I'm paying them to stay. And then we're looking at efficiencies and how we can stretch our controllers further. All of this takes time, but we are on the pathway to making sure that we resolve all of these delays and cancellations that take place through our airspace. It's unacceptable. The American people deserve better, but this is what happened when you have 4 years of an administration and Mayor Pete and Joe Biden that didn't give a damn. They didn't care about safety. They didn't care about building the infrastructure for the American people. They cared about a social justice network and program that, again, now will pick up the pieces from what they didn't do.
Yeah, let me just ask you briefly, what was your reaction to $80 billion in DEI grants, whatever that is?
Well, I didn't know the exact number, but I wasn't surprised. I mean, you hear them, they were trying to change names of, cockpit to flight deck, airmen to aeronaut. I mean, ridiculous things that don't do anything to get people to their homes more safely. That's what the focus was. And so, again, $80 billion? I mean, wasted. $80 billion goes a long way in building infrastructure. I could build 3 new air traffic control systems for that price. It's $31 billion apiece. I mean, they just squandered the cash, and I think the American people should be angry, frustrated, and now demand that we deliver for them.
Let me ask you about truck drivers and long-haul drivers, freight drivers across this country. I'd never thought about this until you proposed this and then the president signed the executive order. How important is it for truck drivers to speak English in this country?
Listen, it's wildly important because this has been on the American books for decades. Because if you're pulled over or if you have a crash and you can't communicate with law enforcement or with first responders, it's a truly safety issue. Barack Obama, what he did is he took the teeth out of this rule of English only. We brought those teeth back to the pre-Obama era to go, we're going to put you out of service. We've taken 1,500 trucks out of service off the roads because the drivers couldn't speak English. And I think that's what the American people expect from us. English is the language of the United States of America. Right. And if you're going to get in a mobile missile, you should speak our language.
All right, 200 days of Donald Trump in the Oval Office. This week, a big topic, and you're also the acting NASA administrator. Can you tell us about this plan to build a nuclear reactor, the first on the moon by the year 2030? It's Donald Trump's space shot, moon shot. Why is this so important?
So first off, it's amazing how fast Donald Trump moves. In the vision that he has, he doesn't live within a box. There's no box around him, so anything is possible. And so on the moon, there's ice on the moon, which ice means water, water means life. The problem is you don't have a reliable energy source. Yes, we can get solar off the south pole of the moon, but we need a reliable energy source. That's going to be fission technology on the moon's surface. And so we've been studying this for a long time, spent hundreds of millions of dollars. Now it's time to move. Let's stop studying. Let's get to the moon. Let's beat the Chinese and the Russians. Let's get there first. Listen, in America, from pioneers to the pilgrims, we're explorers. This is the last frontier, and the moon is the next mission. And so Donald Trump, we talked about it. He gives complete thumbs up. Let's go fast. Let's not wait around with more studies. Let's actually move with action.
Keep going. Secretary Sean Duffy, great to have you on this evening. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. All right, the question was, how many foreign leaders have visited the White House in the president's first 200 days in office? The answer was D, 20. When we come back, do Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin really meet in person next week and end the war in Ukraine? It's a possibility. State Department spokeswoman Tammy Bruce joins us next to talk about America's comeback on the world stage. All right, welcome back. After 200 days, the Trump foreign policy, crystal clear. It is peace through strength, better known as peace through Trump. We went from Joe Biden asleep at the wheel to this.
When we say here at the State Department, the safety and security of Americans everywhere is our top priority, we're not kidding.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio posting on X today, quote, thanks to the president's leadership, the U.S. has helped broker a ceasefire between Cambodia and Thailand as the list of foreign policy accomplishments continues to grow.
Under your leadership, we prevented and ended a war between India and Pakistan. NATO's now at 5% for the first time ever, the highest numbers ever. A peace deal between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. A 12-day war that ended with an American operation that we're the only country in the world that could have done. Hopefully, pretty soon, a peace deal between Azerbaijan and Armenia. The entire Middle East and the infrastructure of it has the potential now to change because of Syria and Lebanon, and it hasn't even been 6 months. Sure. It hasn't even been 6 months, so it's a great testament to your leadership in this.
I'm telling you, Donald Trump is going to win the Nobel Peace Prize at some point over the next 4 years. And joining us now for more is State Department spokeswoman Tammy Bruce. It's great to see you, Tammy. I'm just wondering if you could, we're celebrating 200 days of Donald Trump. Could you just go through, as you see it, from the State Department, the differences between Trump foreign policy and the foreign policy of the previous administration?
Well, obviously, the phrase is America's back. It's as though the country had been in a coma, that there was an abandonment, if you will, not just of our own nation, but of the world itself in the last administration. And President Trump was reelected because we already knew what he could do in the first term that he had. And he is a representation, a physical representation of the nature of America itself. America is back because Donald Trump is back. And his view of this country, yes, it's patriotic, but he loves us. He loves the people of the country. He loves what the nation stands for, but he also understands its power. He understands not just who we are now, but what we can be. So when I see, and when it comes to foreign policy being here at the State Department, it is key, it's vital to have reestablished the one power center on this planet that can do good and has done good. So I think about the nature of the relationships themselves. What Donald Trump represents to other leaders in other countries is a man who says what he means what he says, and delivers. That is why the border is sealed, simply because he's present, that the attitudes and why we get to 5% with NATO is because President Trump has asked for that. They know that there's a reason to do it, that it will be better for them, and that America wants it. And that, again, they recognize the fact that, and I think this is their action indicates their recognition, that the point of view of the president and with the backing of the country means that they'll be better off.
Yeah, you think about the previous administration, wars started, Ukraine, Israel and Hamas, the southern border. That is an invasion. If 15 billion people come into your country over the course of 4 years, that's an illegal invasion. Donald Trump is ending conflicts and ending wars. We have a list. So Pakistan and India, Cambodia and Thailand, which the Secretary of State just mentioned, Congo and Rwanda. The big one right now is Russia and Ukraine, rather.
That's right.
Do you think that these leaders do, in fact, get together at some point within the next 10 days in person?
Well, you know, we know that the previous administration didn't talk to Russia for three years. The president understands that relationships matter. He has, of course, talked to President Putin a number of times. He's been clear with us about his opinion regarding the shifting of that relationship and whether or not he feels he can count on Putin or what Putin is really up to. But these recent events, certainly Secretary Rubio's comments and the president's, indicate that there's an understanding that something has to change. And if the president has indicated, as he has, that there is the potential for meeting, it means that he understands that, and this is all these people at the table, that only Trump has brought people all over the world to the table to deal with their issues. So I do think something will happen in this regard, but I can tell you that not only is it that he is solving problems that he inherited, but we know that because of his power, we have to presume that other things have not occurred because of his strength. So it is America is back, certainly the peace through strength, and we're seeing that displayed and demonstrated both to our friends and our enemies on a daily basis.
I'm telling you, Tammy, peace through Trump is going to catch on before we get to the end of Trump's second term.
It will.
So nice seeing you tonight. Keep up the good work. Tammy Bruce, thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Stay with us. More on Donald Trump's 200 days when we come back. White House Newsmax correspondent Michael Carter asking people what they think about the president's first 200 days in office. Take a look.
200 days in office. What's the most memorable moment?
Actually, you know, just all the trade negotiations and stuff that he's brought about, bringing more money back to the country.
I have to say our current deal with Japan is a huge one. It may be a little peace of mind to everybody that was doubtful about the tariffs.
And where are you guys from?
We're from Holland.
You're from Holland, the Netherlands.
Yes,
15% tariffs.
Yes. What?
His most memorable moment, I would say, and there's been a lot of them. Illegal immigration, the borders had to be closed. I think that's probably the most memorable thing is how quick he was able to close the borders.
I also like the stuff that he's doing with overtime pay.
No tax on tips, no tax on overtime.
That's a big one for me. I work like 10 hours overtime a week.
How about that right there? Really want to thank you all for joining us for our special coverage of Donald Trump's 200 days in office.